So the topic today is simple practices. But before I even talk about simple practices, there's a preface. Why practice? See? Because if I teach you about a lot of simple practices, when I say simple, I don't mean not profound and not highly functional. They are. They just happen to be simple. But this whole study of God, and you can use a synonym for God, is just the truth. You know, you can use whatever word you want, higher power, spirit, whatever you want. It's okay. The nomenclature doesn't mean a thing. But you're searching for the genesis of life. You know, that which caused all things to occur. So there's an arc that you have to develop. The first step is just to have curiosity. What is God? What is truth? What is spirit? That has to be there. Because if you don't have the curiosity, you're not going to do the simple practices. You're not going to look. So you have to have you have to develop sort of a fundamental scientific analytical curiosity. You know, what is God? What is spirit? You have to have a curiosity to such an extent that it becomes an angst, where it bothers you that you don't know. You know, because when it bothers you that you don't know, then you'll keep up. You'll keep probing. You won't say, I looked here, I looked there, I'm going to call it a day and give up. It has to become an angst, where you're saying, you know, all these great souls, all these saints, all these Mahatmas keep talking about this God, this spirit. What is it? What is it? So that curiosity has to be fostered. You know, what is truth? What is the meaning of life? Why am I here? How did this all happen? This is Roger's questions. You know? So that is super important because it keeps you striving. And it keeps you looking deeply. Not just surface, oh, that's that, and you move on. But that's that. But what does it mean? What is its origin? You know, how did it happen? See, that's where even science is very spiritual. Because, you know, scientists are constantly saying, how did that happen? What is that? Those are deeply spiritual questions. In truth, there's not much difference between a scientist and a yogi. It's just the yogi uses internal psychic means of inquiry, and the scientist uses external means of inquiry. You know, he's building machines and doing external observations. The yogis are saying what facilities are naturally inherent within my psyche, and how do I use that in this process of deep inquiry? See, one is esoteric, the other is exoteric, but they're doing the same process. They're on the same road. You know, they're both valid. You know, eventually the exoteric science will run right into esoteric science. You know, and the esoteric scientist has to learn how to apply the exoteric science. See, they have to come together. Now, the exoteric scientist, as he goes deep into his craft, whether it's physics or geology or mathematics, what he or she will probably experience is a sense of awe, or at the wonder of what nature is doing. What the yogi will experience is profound love. You know, one will be in a state of awe. The other will be in a state of emotional, divine rapture. You know, that beauty will manifest as love. That awe will manifest as love. See? Just different perspectives, but the same type of epiphany will happen. The same type of radical growth and radical wonder. See? The yogi falls in love with God. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. Anyway, the scientists may have an awe and reverence of nature. Not so different. Not so different. See? They'll have an awe and then later on a reverence. You know, they'll get that feeling like, well, I love science, but there's something more to it. This is science plus. When they get that sense of awe, and they look out into the stars and say, you know what, there seems to be an inherent intelligence. You know, or they look into nature and they say, there seems to be an inherent intelligence. You know, they're trying to figure out all the facts and processes, but in the back of their mind, they're realizing, you know, this is just not dumb, random processes. There's an inherent intelligence. They get that. They may not talk about it, or maybe privately amongst their quiet, close friends, but they start to feel there's a hidden intelligence. So they're all moving in the same direction. But you have to start with a curiosity. You have to try to find God. I'm using the word God, but put in your own word, whatever you're most comfortable with. If you have that curiosity leads to seeking, and that seeking eventually leads to answers. You know, you'll become witness to processes, and then you'll become, over time, associated with people who are deeply involved in that inquiry. You know, you have to get next to souls who are actively involved in the process in a mature way. In a mature way. That will aid your journey. Now, when we talk about simple practices, it's simple in that anybody can do it. You know, these are not practices where it takes radical deep visualization and utterance of very elaborate chains of groupings of mantras and stotras and all of this. All of that's wonderful, beautiful, but not simple. Can you enter a life of deep mysticism with purely very simple practices? The answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Do you have to climb the mountains and, you know, go up to the caves in the Himalayas? Do you have to do that? No. Not necessary. Absolutely not necessary. Is it fun? Is it an adventure? Absolutely. Is it necessary? No. Can it be done here in Berkeley, California? Absolutely. Absolutely. But one has to learn to start to integrate their search and simple practices in their daily life. We bathe every day. We eat every day. You know, these are common things to our life. Your search for God and intimacy with God has to be exactly the same. It can't be that other practice that you do just at a certain time. It has to be part of your lifestyle. You know, just like people have hobbies that's part of their lifestyle. You know, they start golfing when they're 15, and when they're 58, they're still golfing. It's part of their life. It's the same thing with this search for God, that it just has to be a part of your life. And if it becomes truly part of your life, then there is an inherent intimacy. The biggest deal in learning this process of deep yoga is to Hey Ram, Hey Krishna, Ram Ram. Yeah, you can sit anywhere.
Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah, Hey Rama, Hey Rama. This whole process of learning how to find God, how to have deep experiences with reality. The key is intimacy. First, you have to have a curiosity. Then that curiosity will start to grow into a deeper love, a visceral love. Not just in your head, it's a visceral love. It's essential. And in that course, you're learning greater and greater intimacy, a true intimacy with God. Your experience is that you enter into a love affair with God / life. So you actually fall in love with life because you start to realize that life and God are the same thing. It's just no one told you to think that way. No one told you to, because we objectify things. This is this, this is that, this is this. And we just see it as other, out there, a thing. In your yogic process, how you experience life has to radically change. And that's why it takes a long time. Because we're habituated to experiencing life like our mother, our brother, our sister, our friend experiences life, which is a very common, mundane way of experiencing life. Nothing matter with it, but it's not particularly incisive. It's not particularly deep. See? Sort of when a fellow, we'll just take a good fellow, like a John Muir. When he looked off into the mountains, it wasn't the same as when we just look at the mountains. He had or a Walden, or any of these poets. They look at life in a different way. That's just on a human level. Now on a yogic level, it's far grander and far deeper, where you're looking at the elements of life and seeking its origin. From whence has that come? What made that? And if you look at it carefully, you start to see the inherent beauty. So we all mow grass and rake leaves and shovel snow, but we objectify it. Did we ever actually stop and take the time to carefully look at that and say, gee, I never thought about it, but that's really beautiful. That's it's not just snow, it's not just leaves, it's not just the grass. Because we objectified it and depersonalized it, and it was just a thing, we didn't allow our sensual, psychic facility to touch it. So it was just a thing. And next thing. We never acquired any kind of relationship. See? In the deep yogic process, you're you're gathering a deeper and deeper and deeper intimacy with the elements of life. And as you go deeper, you find the elements of life are just various expressions of God. They really are. But you have to learn to acquire that psychic context. If everything is just a thing, well then you're sort of depersonalized and you're just passing through. It's like a train roaring through a terrain and never looking out the window. We're just A to Z, that's it. But if you're searching for God, you develop a hyper or heightened sensitivity, and you slow down just to see what's around you. And then you have to learn simply not to take things for granted. The tree is not just a tree, and the leaf is not just the leaf, and the earth is not just the earth. What made that tree? What made that earth? See? You have to, no one told you to ask the questions. We just accept it as stuff and we move on. But the way you find profound answers is by asking profound questions. See? The way you find profound answers is by asking profound questions. I remember with my own Guruji, because I was his attendant, most of the questions that came to him, that, many, thousands of people constantly asking him questions. But I used to marvel at the lack of depth of questions. It's like going to some great master. Well, in the case, my Guruji is a great master. And asking him, really like, what food should I feed my cat? You're standing with a master and you're asking about cat food. I mean, your cat. You love your cat. It's important to you. It's important to you. But you're standing next to a person who has traveled the entire arc of human evolution. And reached the kingdom, a state of pure, perfect sanctity. And you're asking him some simple, mundane question. Do I want the Toyota or the Honda, Guruji? But I'll tell you the truth. A lot of the questions were that silly. When will I get a girlfriend, Guruji? He's a representative, a denizen of the kingdom itself. So ask an appropriate question. Ask a question that's going to advance your evolution, because that's why he's here. He's here. Those souls are here to advance your evolution. So, you must have deep inquiry and big questions. Big questions give big answers. So, one must develop. I'm going back to some of the early things I just said, only because new people have come in the room. The preface to seeking God, or to knowing God, or to experiencing God, is curiosity. We must develop curiosity. What is God? What is truth? What is life? Those questions must be asked. It must be a constant. You have to get up with that question. You have to get up with that question. Because if you don't, you're not going to be looking. You're not going to be paying attention. Most humans live on autopilot. They get a set of functional habits, and then they just engage it the moment they step out of the bed, and they're on autopilot. Maybe 2% consciousness, the rest of us have autopilot. See? Completely conditioned behavior. Conditioned responses. Quite reflexive. Not a whole lot of deep insight involved in it. That's why the yogis are constantly telling you to slow down and concentrate, slow down and concentrate, because they don't want you to miss what's going on around you, because you're wrapped up in habitual patterns of behavior and thinking and responses and responding. Those habitual patterns blind you. They absolutely blind you. So the yogis say, slow down, slow down. They say make haste slowly, pay attention. See? And then there's two great schools, the Tantric school, the Vedantic school. And both are valid. Both will get you there. And blending them is also very, very valuable. Tantric school wants you to see every element of life as divine. They want you to discover that process, that every element of life is divine. It's just you have to look at it deeply, and then it'll self-manifest its own wonder. The Vedantic school wants you to remember that all this is one manifestation. They don't look at it as elements. They look at it as one manifestation of the divine. Also, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So these are the things we keep in our mind. But for the human situation, the tantric approach is very, very valuable. The reason is that it's a very tangible path. You're dealing with elements, you're dealing with things, and then you're searching for the origins of those things. That's why you have all these elaborate pujas. You're ringing the bell, you have the incense, you have the candles, you have the mantras going. That's pure tantra. All of your senses are being engaged. Your sense of sight is being engaged, your sense of smell is being engaged, your sense of taste is being engaged, the food is being offered, then the prasad for the food. Pure tantra. Pure tantra. That all of those elements in those pujas are tools to make you discover and remember the divine. And it's engaging all of your senses. Your sense of taste, your sense of touch, your sense of hearing. You see? Even the mind is considered a sense. All engaged. That's why puja is there. It engages all your senses. To think. If the idea misses you, the sound will catch you. See? If the sound misses you, the sight will catch you. See? If the sight, you missed it by sight, the scent of the incense will catch you. See? These are all divine methodology to draw you in, to make you experience something, to make you wonder. See? So, the conventional notion of Tantra in this country is profoundly juvenile. Profoundly juvenile. They think of just sexuality. So if you had all of the books of the Library of Congress, sensuality or sexuality would just be one paragraph in one book. See? As where they think the whole Library of Congress is sexuality. It's profoundly juvenile. Profoundly juvenile. Is sexuality sacred? Yes, it is. But you have to look at it in the context of the entire library, which is the library of life, library of your experience. See? All the elements, if looked at correctly, are sacred. All the elements, if looked at incorrectly, can be profane. See? How do we scar the earth? How do we scar the river? How do we pollute the sky? Because we looked at the world. We looked at the elements of life without reverence, without respect, without deep insight. So we can harm the earth, we can harm the trees, we can harm the rivers, we can harm the mountaintops in the sky. See? Because incorrect perception. See? So we treat the earth in a profane way. We foul it. You know? But if you look at the Native Americans and many native cultures, they look at the earth and the world in a sacred way. See, so acquiring a lot of simple practices, and I will get to that, but there's a long preface so that you can make it useful, potent. You have to create a correct context. And then in that correct context of how to approach the world, how to see the world, how to experience the world, within that context, you start to do these simple practices. Does that make sense? If you have a whole bunch of sacred practices and you don't have the proper context, you're not going to get much results. That's why the world's not filled with yogis. They read all these yoga manuals, and their psyche is there's a just like simply much pollution and much distortion. So you take these sacred processes and you put it in a polluted environment or an insubstantial environment. Not good results. You know, you have to have the correct environment in order to get correct results. You know, the environment is as important as the process itself. You know, you take this human body and you stick it under the water, well, there's life for a moment, but it's the wrong environment for me to persist. So this body becomes non-functional in the wrong environment. You put it up here with plenty of fresh air, it becomes highly functional. See? So no matter how much correct things you have, if you put it in the wrong environment, the results are very, very poor. See? So we have to realize that context is as important as methodology. See? I can't light a match under the ocean. I might have perfect technique, but that match is not going to light. I take that same match with good technique and strike it here, we have a flame. See? So we have to think about these things. We have to think that context is really, 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 really important. Not just technique. You have, like, from the 60s in this country, USA, you know, you have this revolution of inquiry into consciousness. But the results have been very so-so. So-so. Not exceptional. You know how you know that? How many saints has it produced? See? If your methodology and the context is correct, you're going to definitely be producing mystics. You're going to definitely be producing yogis. You're going to definitely be producing saints. And occasionally, from that cadre of saints, a master will arise. See? So you know by your results. See? So it means that the level of application, inquiry, and context, that methodology has not yet been perfected.